Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Worst Contact, written by FermisFolly. A little ship was shaped like a rounded arrowhead, covered in lights with 4 stubby torch drives attached, 2 on either side. Scans indicated that it was minimally armed and possessed only the most rudimentary defenses. It was a pitiful little thing, obviously built by a polity lacking the resources or technology to compete on a galactic scale. It warped its way right past the borders of the Gilfarax's space without a care in the universe. It made no effort to hide its presence. Quite the opposite. It went out of its way to draw attention to itself. The ship broadcast a message by all manner of method and on all manner of frequencies, often accompanied by a helpful self-running translation program on a carrier signal. "Becoming peace," it said. It was the laughable plea of the weak, that the aliens would give up what little stealth they might be capable of. To make it only proved how dull-minded they must be. The ship was obviously from an unimaginably small and consequentially weak polity for them to have remained unsurveyed for so long. Probably at the anus end of one of the far-off spiral arms, or even in the middle of some backwater spur. What they were doing this far from wherever they were from was a question barely worth asking. In contrast to the aliens, the Gilfaraxes were a strong polity, extremely strong, combined with the Gilfaraxes and their clients. Satraps and allies controlled nearly 1/5 of the inhabitable systems in the galaxy. They were the largest galactic bloc with no legitimate rival to their supremacy. Their military might was unmatched, their enemies cowered in fear of them. For this little shrobug to brazenly violate their territory and mewl for peace was an insult that could not be endured. If they allowed it, they would lose face in the front of the galactic community. The Gilfarax's Star Force immediately dispatched 2 Violator-class strife cruisers to intercept the ship, transmit a painstakingly translated message of hate, and then reduce it to a cloud of atoms and radiation. The World Cleanser and the Abominator were to be given the honor. Both ships turned out to have more difficulty than anticipated, catching up with the annoying little shrobug. But as soon as the alien ship realized it was being followed, it slowed right down and let itself be intercepted. The strife cruisers went on high alert. Something must be up. The alien ship began sending over a slightly longer message. Experience translating the first allowed the ship's AIs to spit out an intelligible translation within a few kilocycles. "This is Captain O'Neill of the Galactic Republic Starship Wanderlust. We're explorers from the planet called Earth. We come in peace. May we ask who we are speaking to?" The reply message was tweaked slightly to take into account this new communication. As soon as it was finished, the World Cleanser transmitted it on many of the same frequencies the aliens had been using. "You speak to your superiors in every aspect. You are a low thing unworthy of self-rule. Your plea for peace is denied. As a result of your violation of Gilfarax's space, your ship will be destroyed, your homeworld hunted down, and your people reduced to client status. When this message terminates, you will die in fire. Glory to the full Gilfaraxes, without beginning or end." World Cleanser and Abominator opened fire with row after row of photon lance batteries and blew the alien ship to smithereens in a single salvo. Although several half-hearted expeditions were launched to fight this planet Earth, the path of the alien ship was never successfully traced. Such an insignificant polity was hardly even worth the expenditure of resources to oppress. A little more than a megacycle later, another ship with a similar energy signature again violated Gilfarax's space. It was decided this time the crew would be captured and tortured to discover the location of this Earth. No further insult from them would be permitted. Again, 2 strife cruisers were sent to impress upon the interlopers the power of the Gilfaraxes. The Torture Garden and the End of Hope would be given the honor of destroying the recalcitrant aliens. This time the alien ship simply waited just over the border to be intercepted. As soon as the strife cruisers arrived, it transmitted a message, again with a helpful self-translator. "This is Captain Sansa of the Galactic Republic warship Terra Invictus. I'm here on behalf of the people of Earth and the Milky Way galaxy to issue a formal declaration of war on the Galil Fraxus. It had always been the hope of humanity that, having explored and colonized our own galaxy without ever discovering intelligent life, that we would finally find it in another. It is our deep regret that our first encounter with another starfaring race has led to this. It is our hope that one day the children of our two people will work together in peace. But for the time being, an example must be made. Consider yourself in a state of war with the Galactic Republic. It was the most absurd thing the crew of either ship had ever heard. The saddest, most transparent bluff in the entire history of deception. The Torture Garden and the End of Hope opened fire with their full complement of photon launch batteries. There was no effect. The alien warship shields remained at full strength. The aliens fired twin beams of a kind of strife cruiser sensors didn't know how to make sense of. They seemed to be accompanied by a carrier field that allowed them to slide right past their shields, like they weren't even there. Both beams struck critical systems, disabling both strife cruisers. 2 more shots ruptured the matter/antimatter containment in the engines. The Torture Garden and the End of Hope were both annihilated. From where the Terra Invictus first emerged, thousands more Galactic Republic warships began to assemble. End of story. Story number 2. Not Heavy, written by AranyaP. A man with a shiny stripe in his arm carried a child on his back on their way home, already half as heavy as a man. The child was big for someone still so young. "They called me names again," the child quietly says into his back, his arms wrapped around the man's neck over his shoulders as he leans in for support. "Called me freaky, weird and fat." "And you know none of it is true. They're mean and wrong. But I'll always love you, just the way you are," the man warmly replies, as they step up the steps to their home. "I'm sorry I'm so heavy," mumbles the child into his back, tears in his voice. In response, the man holds him just a little closer, feeling the wetness on his shoulders. "You're not heavy. You're my son," he says jovially, and the weight on the child's chest is lifted a little more as they step into their home. A man with 2 shiny stripes on his arm carries a boy on his back who's already bigger than he is, with one arm looped around the boy and another holds his legs together around his waist. He feels wetness on his shoulders. He takes every step with careful haste. "I got into a fight again today," the boy says weakly, his arms hanging loosely over the man's shoulders. "They said that I don't belong, that you're stupid to have taken me." There is more wetness on the man's shoulders as he holds the boy just a little closer, his steps moving just a little faster. "You should just leave me. I'm just a burden," the boy sleepily mumbles as the man squeezes him close. "Don't be silly. You're not heavy. You're my son," the man warmly says. The weight in the boy's chest lifts a little more as they step up the clinic steps. A man with 3 shiny stripes on his arm carries a teen on his back. His eyes are burning and his lungs are on fire. Every step he takes, his body threatens to buckle as his back strains. But he continues to carry his child. Even as the smoke burns his lungs, and each cough threatens to make him collapse, he walks. The man keeps going, carrying the teen until the air is clear and no longer burns to breathe. And his eyes don't feel like they're boiling away. He feels many hands and hears many shouts as the 2 are helped down from their home. He sat down with a cool towel draped over his shoulders, and he watches as the men he works with try to control the inferno that ravages his home. He watches as he loses everything, but he doesn't care. The most precious thing he's got isn't in there, but is being loaded up into the ambulance by several of the men. Another man tends to his arms, his shoulders dislocated and his muscles strained. "How'd you do it?" the other man asked. The man smiles proudly as he answers, "He wasn't heavy, but he was my son." A man with a shiny golden stripe stands in his best pressed uniform. His eyes are solemn, and his head is lowered slightly as he listens to another man talk about love, about peace and tolerance. There are many men that stand with him. Most of them are similarly pressed uniform, all of them listening. When asked to give speech of his own, he makes it short. No amount of words will say what he wishes he could, but the man tells them his thoughts. "My memory of him are my greatest treasures." The time comes. The man stands before the casket, adorned with a beautiful flag of stripes and stars. The other men offer to help him carry it, but he refuses. Standing proudly, he says, "He's not heavy. He's my dad." And the man grasps his father in his powerful claws and carries him on his back, standing tall over the other men as they walk down the steps. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.